So now you have a CUME file from American Heritage and you have a CUME file from the district, yes?
Yes.
And the original district CUME file you returned to the district, was there a time when you re-obtained the original CUME file?
No.
You never obtained this original CUME file once you had returned it to the district?
That's correct.
Did you ever receive a copy of the district's CUME file once you had already obtained it from Dr. Welker?
Well, there was a subpoena from the state attorney's office that Maria Hernandez's office handled that had a copy of the CUME file.
Okay, so now we go back because I'm thoroughly confused. You obtained the original CUME file from Dr. Welker.
That's correct.
You gave it back to the district. And then you subpoenaed it back?
State attorney did.
Okay, but you obtained it.
I had it.
But you already had a copy.
Yes.
So why did you go obtain another copy that you already had a copy?
I didn't go obtain it. The state attorney did.
But you personally received it.
No.
You didn't pick up a copy?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I picked up the state attorney's requirement and gave it to them. I picked it up because I was convenient.
Why didn't you just give them a copy that you had previously obtained?
They wanted to subpoena it.
So the only difference between what the state attorney's office got and what you had was that one was given to them pursuant to a subpoena.
Yes.
You had never shared with them the copy that you had?
Not the whole CUME file, only on a couple of things that took, as the case progressed, I guess I have to say. As the case progressed, I had at some point to say to the state attorney, here's what we have. Fraud may be a case here. Meaning, what do you mean? And then I had to explain it, and I explained it to him, showing what document I had to explain it, for example. And then that way, subpoenas are issued for people to come in and give testimony.
And and the state attorney's office never asked to see the complete file from you?
Not to my recollection. I don't recall that they did. I know that to get the subpoena, I had to show some things to support, the elements of what I was looking at.
Okay.
And because I took it, tore it apart, so to speak, and took it.
Okay, now, when you shared with the state attorney's office those parts of the CUME file, it wasn't pursuant to a subpoena.
No.
And it wasn't pursuant to a court order.
No.
And it wasn't pursuant to a release from the parents.
No.
And you weren't compelled in any way to produce those records.
No.
Now, when you went to pick up this second copy pursuant to the state attorney's office subpoena, who did you receive that copy from?
Maria Hernandez.
You sure about that?
As far as my recollection is, yes.
You might want to check your log and tell me your recollection otherwise. I don't want to...
What date are you referring to there?
I just want to know if you have a notation there who you received the copy from.
I see where you're at. That was in the beginning when I said I had it from Welker. I asked it from Welker, and evidently Welker gave it to Tassato, Dr. Bond.
I thought Dr. Welker,
Yeah, I did, that's what I had testified to, dropping them off, because I have a note here.
okay, you had a previous note that said that Dr. Welker had provided you with the CUME file.
That's what I had here.
And then you have a subsequent note that
Yes.
says Mr. Susano gave you a copy.
No, it doesn't say copy, it
What
just
does
says
it
a
say?
CUME file. Picked up the CUME student record. The CUME file from Tasato.
And what date was that?
That was 6/29.
But you told me you had the CUME file on the 19th,
That's what I have in my notes.
and you can't put those together?
I'm not sure why that occurred in the notes. Maybe he dropped off, I thought I dropped off the CUME and didn't look at it exactly at the same time, and he had dropped off the attendance records or something of that nature.
But you don't know.
I don't recall that, no. But it's in my notes here, so it reflects what
That's
happened at the
what
time.
was a little confused.
Yeah, well, I can see that.
Okay. And you can't figure that out by looking at your notes.
No, that was over a year ago.
Okay. Now, you looked at the line that says 6/19/09, student file from Principal Welker, Crop Senior High, delivered. Do you know when after that you returned the file?
I returned the file to Maria Hernandez in August.
So then how could you get a copy on the 29th from Mr. Tosado?
What are you saying? June 29th?
Yeah.
August, I returned it? Is that, I mean, I don't understand.
Okay. You received the student file from Principal Welker on June 19th.
And that's obviously an error. It might have been when I had the attendance records in this.
Well, now I'm more confused because you told me that it took months to get the attendance records, and I would see why, because they were voluminous and they had to be printed
No,
out
they-
from ISIS.
They came later.
Later?
Yeah.
But this is like the next day.
I'm trying to go by memory here, recall. I mean, I've given you
Right.
the list.
I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
I understand.
clear, I'm not trying to,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
I
neither
don't
am
want
I.
to confuse you, or,
No.
you know, I'm just trying to figure. You told me you got the CUME file right away, next day, but you had to wait for the attendance records because they were voluminous and they had to be printed out from ISIS. So you will agree with me, Mr. Ivy, that if that testimony is true,
Mhm.
that you could not have obtained the attendance records the day after you met with Dr. Welker.
Objective form.
And I stated that I might have been an error with that when I wrote that down there, because I dropped off some material to me. Maybe it was the attendance records then. And not, you know, the stacks, and I didn't look at them immediately. So maybe I put that down there in error.
Okay.
That's possible.
So what you now think is correct is that when you said that Dr. Welker delivered the CUME file the next day, that's incorrect, and what they might have delivered was a stack, which you're describing how big?
Well,
Many
you
inches.
have it. It's probably
How many inches?
like that.
Which is how many inches in your estimation?
6 inches?
So about 6 inches of papers that were attendance records.
Yes.
So when you were talking about you got the CUME file the next day, you made a copy, put it in your drawer, that would have been incorrect.
It appears so.
Okay. So now what you got the next day was 6 inches of attendance records. What did you do with those attendance records?
Well, they sat on my desk for a period of time. I don't know when I actually looked at them.
Okay, you didn't make a copy, put it in your drawer.
No.
It just sat on your desk.
Attendance?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay. And do you keep track in your office of copies?
Objective
Is there-
form.
Is there like a log that you,
No.
for this case, that case, so many copies?
No.
Okay, so now, based on your rereading of this log, now you think that you got the CUME file for the first time on June 29th?
That's what the log says.
You don't have an independent recollection?
No, not as to what happened at that point.
Do you have an independent recollection as to any of this that's in the log?
I might have some of it I won't.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to waste time if you really don't remember.
Well, you'll
I'll
find
just
out when
base
you
on
ask me.
whatever is there.
When you
Okay.
ask me, I'll tell you, either I recall or don't.
Okay, all right. So on the 29th, now you say you got the cume from a Mr. Tosawa.
That's correct.
Do you know who he is?
He's an assistant superintendent, I believe.
Do
His
you know
title.
what area he supervises?
No,
Do you know if he has anything to do with crop?
no,
Do you know if he's the custodian of those records?
do not know,
Do you know how he obtained it?
do not know.
Where were you when you received those records physically?
I went to his office,
You went to Mr. Tosawa's office?
yes.
Did he call you or you call him?
I don't recall. I imagine he called me to let me know he had them.
Okay, and then you went over to his office.
Correct.
Did he say anything to you when he gave you those records?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you have any discussion with him regarding the case?
No.
Okay, now I'm even more confused.
Okay.
Because now I see a notation that you picked up the attendance records on June the 30th. Have you had an opportunity to review the document?
Well, as it reads here, picked up, this is June 30th, I think
Yes,
you were
sir.
referring to.
Yes, sir.
Picked up attendance records from Miami-Dade County Public Schools, attendance services, there's a scribble, that's hard to read, from Miss Yvette Senior Stewart. This is different from Crop High School.
Okay. What were those records that you got on the 30th?
Those records on the 30th were the official records from the attendance services department of the school.
And were those computerized records?
Yes.
And were those ISIS records?
I don't know if they're in the ISIS or not. I don't know for sure, but they were computerized records.